The scent of scorched garlic, truffle butter, and lemon zest drifted through the kitchen of Le Fontaine, Manhattan's most exclusive French restaurant. At the very back, hunched over a mountain of plates, stood Eli Tran, 31, 5'5", with quiet eyes and calloused hands. His apron was soaked, his knuckles raw from hours of scrubbing, but his mind, sharper than anyone in the building. He was invisible to the patrons, just a dishwasher with a name no one pronounced right, the kind of man who took the side entrance, ate cold rice during breaks, and never looked guests in the eye. The kind of man people never noticed, especially not the men whose conversations were worth millions. But Eli listened, and Eli remembered. From his post near the industrial sink, he had a partial view of the temperature-controlled wine hallway and, more importantly, an earshot to the corner booth, reserved every Thursday for a trio of Wall Street regulars, Barrett, Sloan, and Mitch. Tonight, they were louder than usual, cocky, drunk, arrogant. "Just filter it through the Cayman shell," Barrett said, swirling a $4,000 glass of red. "Regulators won't touch it. We're clean until the real numbers hit." "We'll triple it by Monday," Mitch smirked. "SEC's got nothing. Hell, the dishwasher makes more in tips than those clowns make in indictments." Eli froze. Not because he felt insulted, but because the pattern matched. For the last 6 months, Eli had been mentally mapping the trades, the names, the patterns. He didn't have a Bloomberg terminal. He didn't need one. He had a mop closet notebook full of numbers, dates, and whispers. He had an uncanny gift for memory. Dates, symbols, digits, all stored cleanly, like dishes stacked after dinner rush. Tonight confirmed everything. He rinsed another plate, but his mind burned. These men weren't just rich, they were rigging markets in plain sight, using private dinners to time leaks, moving millions through blind trusts and offshore accounts, and laughing about it. They thought no one noticed. They were wrong. That night, Eli walked home through Queens with the chill biting through his thrift store jacket. Neon signs flickered in Korean, Spanish, Vietnamese. It was a neighborhood built by underdogs, survivors, people like him. He unlocked the door to his one-bedroom apartment and sat at a cheap folding table. The wall clock ticked past 2 a.m. when he finally opened his laptop. Not social media, not YouTube, the SEC whistleblower archive. He began to dig. Real-time filings, ETF volume reports, routing disclosures. He matched the dinner dates with trades and client names mentioned in passing. Each thread unraveled deeper schemes, shell companies, straw investors, ghost trusts. What he found wasn't just market manipulation, it was fraud, bold, organized, and reckless. Eli knew he couldn't go to the police. Not yet. He needed a witness, a platform, someone who wouldn't dismiss him for his job title or his accent. So he did what no one expected. He printed it all: graphs, diagrams, names, and one burning question handwritten at the top. How many lives did they ruin for their Thursday steaks? He slid the folder into an envelope and mailed it anonymously to Maya Patel, a young investigative reporter he admired from the New York Ledger. She was one of the few who had taken down a mid-level hedge fund last year. If anyone would see past his job title, it would be her. Then he waited. 2 weeks. Nothing. Until one rainy evening, as he changed into his uniform, Eli found a note taped to the inside of his locker. "You're not crazy, and you're not alone. Midnight, 72nd and Broadway. Come alone. MP." His heart pounded. He folded the note carefully and slid it into his pocket. wiped his hands clean, and, for the first time in years, walked out. The rain fell in sheets, soft and steady, washing the streets of Manhattan in shimmering gray. At exactly 11:58 p.m., Eli Tran stood under the flickering street lamp on 72nd and Broadway, heart pounding beneath his second-hand coat. His sneakers squished from the wet, and his hands, used to dish soap and boiling rinse water, clutched the corner of the subway map like it might explain the path his life had just taken. He didn't know what to expect. Would it be a setup? A prank? A cop? A reporter with questions he couldn't answer? Then he saw her. A flash of red scarf in the dark. Long coat, black boots, umbrella resting at her side like a forgotten shield. She walked with certainty, not arrogance, but confidence, like someone used to standing alone in rooms full of men who didn't want her there. Maya Patel. But what struck Eli first wasn't her name. It was the badge she flashed, barely visible under the scarf. "Don't panic," she said quietly. "I'm not here to arrest you. I'm here because you're either brilliant or dangerously reckless." "Possibly both," Eli answered before he could stop himself. She raised an eyebrow, the corner of her lip twitching. "I like honest men, even reckless ones." Maya nodded toward a nearby diner, its neon lights buzzing low like a secret. Inside, they sat in the last booth, far from the door, close to the jukebox. The waitress poured coffee. Eli didn't touch his. "How much do you know?" Maya asked, pulling out a slim notebook. "Enough to make someone very rich or very scared," Eli replied. "And you chose fear. Interesting." Eli leaned in. "They've been using investor trust funds to move money through short options tied to offshore leveraged notes. They disguise it as volatility hedging, but it's a long con. They know exactly when the bad news hits because they're making the news." Maya sat back, tapping her pen on the page. "And you're a dishwasher?" "Not in my head." Silence. Then she slid a folder across the table. Inside were photographs, candid shots of Barrett, Sloan, and Mitch exiting meetings with SEC officials, judges, and even a state senator. There was a web of connections: hedge funds, think tanks, lobbying firms, fake charities. "These men," Maya whispered, "aren't just playing dirty. They're rewriting the rules." Eli stared at the folder, then at her. "Why are you showing me this?" "Because you noticed what no one else did, what everyone else was paid not to see. I've been chasing shadows for 2 years, but I need someone inside." "Inside the restaurant?" "Inside their routine." Maya leaned closer, her voice low and urgent. "You don't just have a good memory, Eli. You have placement, access to conversations no one else hears. I need a whisperer. You need a shield." He looked down at his hands. "What happens if they find out?" "Then we go loud, and we bring the system with us." Eli closed his eyes. This wasn't a game anymore. This wasn't theory or chance or coincidence. It was war. And war demanded choices. He opened them again, steady now. "What do you need?" Maya slid a flash drive across the table. "Start recording audio. Don't edit, don't summarize, just capture. I'll handle the rest." "And if I get caught?" "Then I hope your dishes are clean enough to throw." They both chuckled, not because it was funny, but because it made fear a little easier to hold. As they left the diner, Maya stopped him under the awning. "You're not just a dishwasher anymore, Eli. You're the beginning of something." The kitchen was a battlefield, sharp, wet, hot, and no one noticed the dishwasher with the quiet eyes and perfect timing. That was Eli Tran's superpower, invisibility. But tonight, invisibility had a mission. Taped inside his apron, just behind the fold near the waistline, was a tiny micro-audio recorder the size of a toothpick, provided by Maya Patel. He had tested it with the walk-in freezer door shut. It worked. But now, under the cacophony of boiling pots, clattering knives, and shouts in 5 different languages, Eli needed more than clarity. He needed luck. "Coming in hot!" shouted one of the line cooks, slamming a skillet into the sink. "Order up! Rack those dishes, Eli!" barked Chef Dino. Eli didn't flinch. He worked with rhythm, letting the noise mask the click of the recorder as he flicked it on. Tonight's guests weren't just rich, they were dangerous. Mitch Calloway was at table 12, laughing too loud. Across from him, Barrett Klein, silver-haired, sharp-eyed, and carrying a phone no one in the kitchen had ever seen before. No logo, no case. Eli timed his steps perfectly, dishes up, waist down, back and forth near the doorway leading to the service corridor, where the private booths were hidden behind velvet curtains. There was a narrow slit in the paneling, one used by servers to peek in. Eli knew that slit. He had seen everything through it, for years. But now he listened. The SEC won't touch us. They're playing 3 weeks behind. By then, the Puerto Rico index will already be offloaded. And what about Dorsey? His foundation's starting to smell the rot, Mitch asked. Barrett sipped wine. "We give him a taste. If he squeals, we collapse his name with the others, make him part of the leak." Eli's hands froze a second as he lowered a bin of silverware. His breathing quickened. The voices drifted on, lower now. "How's the Macau transfer?" Mitch asked. "Secured, routed through the dummy trust in Georgia. Patel's not even on us anymore." Eli blinked. That name, Maya Patel. They knew. He moved fast, retreating back into the kitchen like a shadow. Heart pounding, he scrubbed faster, louder, overcompensating. But inside, alarms rang. They were watching Maya. They were covering something global. At break, he slipped into the staff restroom. The audio was still recording. He whispered into the mic. "Table 12. Mitch Calloway, Barrett Klein, discussing offshore dump of Puerto Rico index and a Macau transfer routed through dummy trust in Georgia. Mentioned Maya Patel by name, possibly tracking her." Then he flicked the recorder off and hid it behind a loose tile under the sink. It was safer there, safer than in his apron. He stared at his reflection in the cracked mirror. Drops of sweat ran down his neck. His hands, though steady with plates, were trembling now. "Not just a whisperer anymore," he muttered. "Now you're bait." Later that night, Chef Dino pulled Eli aside. "You got good ears, Eli. That's rare around here. You hear what Mitch said to that blonde earlier?" Eli hesitated. "I try not to eavesdrop." "Good answer," Dino smirked. "But if you did hear, just know people who talk too much in this place, they disappear." Eli nodded. "Understood, Chef." Back at the lockers, someone had tampered with his bag. Zipper slightly off, contents rearranged. A warning, subtle but clear. He texted Maya in code. "Yellow. Rain on 72nd. Umbrella cracked." She replied in 2 words. "Green. Pull back." But Eli couldn't. He wasn't just the dishwasher anymore. He was the witness, the key, the canary in the kitchen. And if the canary stopped singing now, No one would know the fire was already burning through the system. The next morning, Eli Tran didn't go straight to the restaurant. Instead, he took the long subway ride uptown to a dusty little internet cafe run by a man named Leo, an ex-hacker who now repaired iPhones for tourists and brewed espresso like a chemist. Leo owed Eli a favor from a time no one talked about. "You look like hell," Leo said, as Eli sat down at the counter. "Feel worse," Eli replied, pulling out a napkin folded twice. On it was a crude diagram, circles, arrows, and dollar signs. "This isn't coffee," Leo muttered, squinting. "This is laundering. Can you map it digitally? I need to know if I'm imagining things." Leo nodded. "Give me an hour, maybe less." While Leo typed, Eli paced. His mind replayed everything he'd heard. Puerto Rico index offloaded, dummy trust in Georgia, Macau transfer, SEC behind by 3 weeks. The restaurant was the front, but behind the fine wines and five-star risotto was a financial rotisserie, spinning global assets through a network of shelf companies, shell accounts, and tax havens. "You ever heard of Cayman roux?" Eli asked Leo. "Like the sauce?" "No, it's what Klein called their investment layering, like a roux, thick, complicated, hot at the bottom." Leo raised an eyebrow. "That's clever. Disgusting, but clever. You're telling me they're using culinary metaphors to hide financial crime?" "They don't just use metaphors, they use real restaurants." Leo clicked. "Got it." The screen lit up with a digital map, nodes glowing like constellations. Eli's napkin had been transformed into a network diagram. At the center, Barrett Klein's private holding company, feeding into sub-accounts disguised as supplier payments from restaurants in New York, San Francisco, Macau, and Berlin. "See this?" Leo zoomed in. "These supposed suppliers in Berlin, they all trace back to one IP address in Curaçao. So they don't exist. Or they exist only as fronts. This is money laundering, Eli. Pure and polished." Eli stared at the screen. For a moment, he forgot who he was. Not a dishwasher. Not an immigrant with broken English and quiet manners. He was the only one looking at the full picture. "If I can get 3 more pieces, proof of payout, transfer path, and investor leak, I can crack the whole thing." "Then what?" Leo asked. "Then we cook," Eli whispered, "and we serve them their own collapse." That night, back at the bistro, Eli moved like a shadow again. He retrieved his recorder, switched aprons, and glanced at the reservation list. Table 6, Mitch Calloway again. Table 9, new guest, Marcus Dorsey. Eli nearly dropped the tray. Dorsey, the man they said they'd bribe or bury. He's here. The mood in the kitchen was tense. Chef Dino kept wiping his hands more than usual. The sommelier whispered into his earpiece. Even the maitre d' was sweating under the collar. At one point, Mitch Calloway stepped into the kitchen with a smirk. "Dino, tell your dishwasher I want him to bring the dessert tray himself." The room fell silent. "You want Eli?" Dino asked, surprised. "Yeah, he's got the quiet eyes. I like that." Eli didn't flinch. He nodded, picked up the silver tray of panna cotta, and followed Mitch to table 6. The lights outside the booth were dim. Inside sat Mitch, Barrett, and Marcus, Dorsey, the man who could be either ally or casualty. "Gentlemen," Eli said quietly, "your desserts." As he bent down, he let the edge of his apron press lightly against the table leg, where another micro-recorder had been discreetly tucked in the lining. A vibration confirmed it was live. Barrett chuckled. "Eli, right?" Eli nodded. "Yes, sir." "I hear you're the best dishwasher in the city." "I try to keep things clean, sir." Barrett grinned, a flash of sharp teeth. Dorsey, however, stared hard at Eli, as if sensing something behind those soft eyes, something calculating, something dangerous. "Thanks," Eli said, and walked away. In the back hallway, he texted Maya, One word: boil. At 1:45 a.m., the guests had gone. Eli stayed late, cleaned slow, then slipped back into The sun hadn't yet risen when Eli Tran stood in the alley behind Leo's cafe, holding the USB drive like it weighed 100 pounds. Inside it, encrypted files, voice recordings, transaction maps, everything they had gathered over the past 8 days. Proof of laundering, of fraud, of algorithmic manipulation. A perfect storm in digital form. "Are you sure about this?" Leo asked, glancing at the burner phone. "If I wait, they'll silence Dorsey, and I'll be next. And if you send it, then the fire starts." Eli pressed send. The files went to 3 people: Natalie Rowe, an investigative journalist who had once exposed a senator's offshore accounts; Agent Carla Munoz, SEC Cybercrimes Division; and Marcus Dorsey himself. Then he crushed the burner phone under his heel. That afternoon, the bistro was half empty. Something had changed. The staff whispered. The maitre d' didn't look Eli in the eye. Maya rushed into the prep station. "What did you do?" she hissed. Eli didn't answer. 3 black cars outside, unmarked, tinted windows. "They're not here for the duck confit," he said grimly. Just then, Barrett Klein entered the kitchen. Not the dining area, the kitchen. He never came here. "Where's the Vietnamese?" he said, voice flat. Everyone froze. Eli stepped forward. "You sent something. Something loud." "I cleaned your dishes, now I'm cleaning the rot," Eli replied. Barrett's smile was reptilian. "You think the truth wins here? You think the system listens to ghosts?" "No," Eli said, "but I'm not a ghost. Not anymore." Barrett leaned in close. "You'll regret this. You'll vanish, and no one will know your name." "Maybe," Eli whispered, "but they'll know yours." Barrett left. No threats, just inevitability. That night, Eli didn't go home. He and Maya slept in Leo's back room, between servers and coffee beans. At 2:03 a.m., Barrett burst in holding his laptop. It started! The first article was up on a niche financial blog. It was vague but damning. Anonymous leak exposes financial shell game between high-end restaurants and offshore accounts. Eli scrolled. They'd used some of the diagrams, the metadata, even a partial transcript of the conversation at Table 6. "Natalie Rowe, she's running with it," Maya said softly. "And the SEC?" Eli asked. "Nothing yet, but Dorsey." He replied. Maya handed over her phone, a simple message from Dorsey. "I have the rest. Meet me. Hudson Pier, midnight." Hudson Pier was dark, cold, and smelled like oil and secrets. Eli waited alone under the rusting crane. At exactly midnight, a black car pulled up, but it wasn't Marcus Dorsey who stepped out. It was Carla Munoz, the SEC agent. "You Eli Tran?" He nodded. "You just lit a match over a lake of gasoline." "Did Dorsey send you?" "No, he's missing." Eli's blood ran cold. "What do you mean missing?" "As in disappeared. No flight, no calls, no digital footprint." "They got to him," Eli whispered. "That's why I'm here. You're my only witness now." "What do you need?" "Everything. Originals, your voice, and the courage to testify." Eli looked at the dark water. He remembered the noise of knives in the kitchen, the silence of people being stepped on. "Then I'm in. I'll burn the whole thing down." Back at Leo's, they began uploading everything to SEC servers. Firewall bypassed, encrypted with a triple key system. At 4:17 a.m., a confirmation pinged. SEC Cybercrimes. Data received. Phase 2 initiated. Leo sighed. You just gave the government a bomb. Eli nodded. Let's hope they light the right fuse. But across town, in a private penthouse, Barrett Klein watched the early morning. The city was quiet, but Eli Tran's mind wasn't. He stood inside Leo's cafe, watching Maya pace near the coffee grinder, while Leo frantically rerouted VPNs and backups. 3 burner phones buzzed. One went dark. Dorsey's still missing, Maya muttered. Barrett's people could have. He's alive, Eli said. If they silenced him, they'd be too late. The data's already out. Leo spun around from the terminal. They've taken down half the blog sites. One's been hacked, 2 got DMCA takedowns, but Natalie Rowe just published a full expose on Financial Underground. We're trending. Eli took a long breath. Good, he said, but they're going to come harder now. Just then, a dull thump shook the walls. A black SUV crashed into a garbage bin just outside. Another turned the corner fast, almost sliding. Go, Leo said. Back room. Take the drives. Go live from your phone. You? Maya asked. I'll buy you 4 minutes. Eli looked Leo in the eye. You sure? Leo grinned. I've been dying for a cause worth hacking for. Back alley, 5:27 a.m. Eli and Maya ran through steam vents and trash bags. The USB drives were stuffed in a sock inside Eli's jacket. He heard tires screech behind them. Warehouse on 38th, rooftop, satellite fallback, Maya gasped. You said that was theory. Now it's our only option. They reached the building. A steel ladder clanged under their hands. Up and up, breath ragged, until they reached the rooftop. Maya ripped open the satellite router kit, slamming it onto a vent. Eli synced his phone. Signal locked. Go live. He tapped broadcast. Hi, my name is Eli Tran. I'm a dishwasher, and I just found the biggest recipe for fraud Wall Street ever cooked up. Across the country, people began to watch. In Brooklyn, a high school student pulled off his headphones and stared. In Nevada, a retired accountant sat upright in her lazy boy and muttered, "Finally." In Washington, D.C., Carla Munoz's phone exploded with alerts. She barked at her team, "We move now, full authorization." On the rooftop, Maya flipped through the stream chat. 30,000 viewers, it's exploding. Suddenly, gunshots. Concrete cracked near Eli's foot. He ducked. Below, Barrett Klein had arrived. He wasn't hiding anymore. He stepped out of the SUV, wearing a navy trench coat over a red tie, flanked by 2 hired men with radios and pistols. He shouted into a megaphone, "You think exposing me online matters? You're a dishwasher. They'll call you crazy. The market will bury your story by lunchtime." Eli picked up the phone, still live, and stepped into frame. "Say that again," he shouted. Barrett froze. "Say that louder. The people are listening." Maya flipped the phone so the live chat flooded the screen. Comments flew. Hashtag justice for Eli. Hashtag Barrett Klein fraud. Hashtag Rue files. Get him, dishwasher. Eli continued, "I may not wear a suit, but I know how to clean up messes. And you, Barrett, you've been dirty for too long." Barrett lost his temper. "End it," he barked. The goons raised their weapons, but suddenly, helicopter blades thundered overhead. FBI floodlights lit the rooftop like a stadium. "Drop your weapons! Down! Down now!" Carla Munoz appeared from the sky, rappelleering down like a war angel. "Barrett Klein, you're under federal arrest." One of the bodyguards tried to run. A sniper laser pinned him down in a second. Barrett raised his hands, smirking. "You have no idea who you're messing with." "Yeah," Munoz replied. "Neither do you. Meet Eli Tran." 2 weeks later, Barrett Klein's assets were frozen. Mitch Calloway turned state witness, and Dorsey reappeared in a secured location and joined Eli's case. Eli stood before Congress, not in an apron, but in a navy blue suit that Maya picked out. The same phone he used to live stream was now in a glass case behind him. I wasn't trained in finance. I washed dishes, but every day I listened. And the more I listened, the more I saw. People say the system is too big to change, but maybe that's because no one ever gave the people doing the smallest jobs a voice. Standing ovation.